Hello, everybody, again. Pick up Ecclesiastes, which is only like 8 pages long, so it shouldn't take but 2 or 3 readings. And I'll read the first in this Bible. Again, I like this Bible because it explains about each book. Ecclesiastes is the collected words of a teacher or preacher. The teacher is described as having been king over Israel and Jerusalem, and as the son of David, Solomon. Both of these mean that he was in the royal line of Judah. He is not further identified, and while tradition identifies him with Solomon, it is appropriate to leave this cloak of anonymity in place. Again, who writes it? Is it so important? Is what it says. The repeated phrase, meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless, warns us that life's rewards are uncertain and ultimately unsatisfying. The teacher pursues this insight in a long discourse that shifts between prose and poetry, between autobiography and straightforward teaching. The book makes observations and poses questions, returning to themes like the wind, round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. When the teacher says what is crooked cannot be straightened, he reminds us that something wrong has intruded into our world. This fits the larger Jewish story told in the rest of the scriptures. Setting things right again is what this bigger drama is about. The teacher, however, does not tell us about God's attempts at straightening the world. He is content to say that God is sovereign over all things, and it is our duty to follow his ways for living, since God will bring every deed into judgment. So at the very end, sometimes it's at your very end or during your life. Well, we start chapter 1. And part of this is actually what's this old song, I think by the Turtles, I want to say, in the 60s. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There's part of it. That's taken from this book. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. So it could have been a different son of David. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again, what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was here already, long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. I, the teacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem. So that points to Solomon. The son of David could have been grandson, great-grandson. Because of these words, tend to, as he said, believe it, that it's Solomon. At least part of this is from him. I, the teacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind! I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, look, I have increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom, and also of madness and folly. But I learned that this too is chasing after the wind, because it was about himself, self-idolatry, which breaks the second commandment, in turn breaks the first commandment. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. Chapter 2. I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good. But that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is madness. And what does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself with wine and embracing folly, my mind still guiding me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was good for people to do under the heavens during the few days of their lives, go in their own way, seek all sorts of pleasure in various ways, various places. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself and the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired male and female singers and a harem as well, the delights of a man's heart. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. In all this my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. Who's that sound like? Most of the world. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward of all my toil, for all my toil. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Then I turned my thoughts to consider wisdom, and also madness and folly. What more can the king's successor do than what has already been done? I saw that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. The wise have eyes in their heads, while the fool walks in the darkness. But I came to realize that the same fate overtakes them both. Oh, leave this world. Then I said to myself, the fate of the fool will overtake me also. What then do I gain by being wise? I said to myself, this too is meaningless, for the wise, like the fool, will not be long remembered. The days have already come when both have been forgotten. Like the fool, the wise too must die. So I hated life because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. I hated all the things I had toiled for under the sun because I must leave them to the one who comes after me. And who knows whether that person will be wise or foolish. Yet they will have control over all the fruit of my toil into which I have poured my effort and skill under the sun. This too is meaningless. So my heart began to despair over all my toilsome labor under the sun. For a person may labor with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, and then they must leave all they own to another who has not toiled for it. This too is meaningless and a great misfortune. What do people get for all the toil and anxious striving with which they labor under the sun? What do they get for it? All their days their work is grief and pain. Even at night their minds do not rest. This too is meaningless. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This too, I see, is from the hand of God. For without him, who can eat or find enjoyment? To the person who pleases him, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. But to the sinner he gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth to hand it over to the one who pleases God. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Chapter 3, where the song comes in. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. All these have happened many times throughout mankind's history. What do workers gain from the toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in his time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet, no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live. That each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil, this is a gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, nothing taken from it. God does it so that people will fear him, respect him, honor him, and love him, and obey him. Whatever is has already been, and whatever will be has been before, and God will call the past to account. And I saw something else under the sun. In the place of judgment, wickedness was there. In the place of justice, wickedness was there. I said to myself, God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, for there will be a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. I also said to myself, as for humans, God tests them so that they may see that they are like the animals. Surely the fate of human beings is like that of the animals. The same fate awaits them both. As one dies, so dies the other. All have the same breath. Humans have no advantage over animals. Everything is meaningless. All go to the same place. All come from dust, and to dust all return. Who knows if the human spirit rises upward, if the spirit of the animal goes down into the earth? They all rise up into the heavens. Animals rise up into the heavens. heavens. Not all humans rise up to the heavens, but they have that opportunity. So I saw that there is nothing better for a person than to enjoy their work, because that is their lot. For who can bring them to see what will happen after them? Can't. It's the future, which is God's domain. Chapter 4. Again I looked and saw all the oppression that was taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. Power was on the side of their oppressors, and they have no comforter. And I declare that the dead who had already died are happier than the living who are still alive. But better than both is the one who has never been born, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. So those you lost, like my daughters, they're miscarried, aborted. Yeah, I missed it. I haven't been in my life, but they would have suffered. They would have been possibly corrupted. Here they didn't have to suffer through anything. They went right up to heaven. Joyous abode. And I declare that the dead who had already died are happier than living, who are still alive, but better than both is the one who has never been born, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. And I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. All toil, all achievement spring from one's envy, one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Fools fold their hands and ruin themselves. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Again I saw something meaningless under the sun. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth, because they're never satisfied. Because it's chasing the wrong thing, like eating candy, it doesn't fulfill. But God fulfills. For whom am I toiling, he asked. For whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business. Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of three strands is not quickly broken. So we're not better off alone. Better a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who no longer knows how to heed a warning. The youth may have come from prison to the kingship, or he may have been born in poverty within his kingdom. I saw that all who lived and walked under the sun followed the youth, the king's successor. There was no end to all the people who were before them, but those who came later were not pleased with the successor. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Chapter 5. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. Go near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools who do not know that they do wrong. Again, go there tithing money or whatever. That's not the tithe that's acceptable to him. Go there to listen rather than offer the sacrifice of fools, which is money and stuff that's already God's. Do not be quick with your mouth. Do not be hasty in your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. He knows your thoughts before you know them. A dream comes when there are many cares, and many words mark the speech of a fool. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to fulfill it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow. It is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. That's why you don't make a promise, because invariably you're going to break it. So it's better not to make a vow, not to make a promise. Do not let your mouth lead you into sin, and do not protest to the temple messenger. My vow was a mistake. Why should God be angry at what you say and destroy the work of your hands? Much dreaming and many words are meaningless. Therefore, fear God. If you see the poor oppressed, in a district, injustice and rights denied, do not be surprised at such things, for one official is eyed by a higher one, and over them both are others higher still. God at the highest. Increase from the land is taken by all. The king himself profits from the fields. God himself profits from the fields of man. God is over all things. So, see a judge or somebody getting away with it, it's frustrating, aggravating, but they all answer to the same person. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners except to feast their eyes on them? The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much, but as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. I have seen a grievous evil under the sun, wealth hoarded to the harm of its owners, or wealth lost through some misfortune, so that when they have children there is nothing left for them to inherit. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from their toil that they can carry in their hands. All that you leave this world is what an image, reflection of what you're wearing. This too is a grievous evil. As everyone comes, so they depart, and what do they gain, since they toil for the wind? All their days they eat in darkness, with great frustration, affliction, and anger. This is what I observe to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor under the sun during the few days of life God has given them. For this is their lot. Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions, and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil. This is a gift of God. They seldom reflect on their days of their life, because God keeps them occupied with gladness of heart. And that right there. Another 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Pick up at number 6 next time. We'll probably read it all the way through to the end. So all that you do, you're doing for yourself and on your own. You're wasting your time. You're taking nothing with you. Nothing. No one. Again, it's like abandoning a sinking ship. You got that lifeboat. Your number, here's your seat. Get on it. Because they ain't going to wait for you long. Take nothing with you. Clothes on your back. If there's no seat marked for a loved one, they're not supposed to go on that. Let it go. Let them go. Otherwise, you miss that boat. And you would have ended up like those who I hope get to the light now. They missed that boat for various reasons. So now you can't go to where they're at because it's blocked off. It's being cleaned out. It's being done away with. So you go right. If you miss that boat, you go right to the judgment line. You can't come off of that until you've been judged. These souls, they've been judging themselves, and they've been being judged all the time they've been wandering. Now's the time for them to be called forth. If they're ready to go, and they're taken to the light, and they're cleansed, renewed. They offer it all up, and they make it into heaven. So don't waste time accumulating things. Work hard, dedicate everything to God. Do what He needs you to do. Ask what you need to do for Him. Have Him in your life. Focus on Him. Pay attention to Him. Give thanks to Him. Respect Him. Honor Him. Love Him. Believe in Him. And don't hang on to anything, internal or external. It's just a waste. It's just a waste. Christ, God bless.